right, let's talk some more draft targets here. Next up are the New York Knicks, and they got some key players there. Kristaps, top among them. They do still have some needs, though. Their roster, as we'll get to later when we look at some free agency options, kind of in a weird spot with a lot of big-name guys. Not big-name guys, but big contracts handed out already.
Knicks fans are going to get mad at me because a lot of them are very triggered by the fact that Kristaps Porzingis is currently injured. All of their starting lineups that we have for their free agents and draft is assuming that Kristaps Porzingis is playing next year.
At least at some point.
At least at some point. Whether it's the start of the season or the middle of the season, it doesn't matter. You have to plot out the Knicks lineup whether with them having Kristaps. And the first guy, he should be a New York Knick. Mikal Bridges, because you want to know why? Along with the player comp of Otto Porter, do you know who he reminds me a lot of? Is Tim Hardaway Jr. in a lot of ways. I think Hardaway Jr. is a little bit of a better shooter, but I think Bridges could end up being a player like him. And also, yes, not overpaid. But Bridges could end up being a very similar player to him. A good shooter, a good drive and kick guy, a nice defender on the wing, good length, solid player, not going to blow you away as an NBA superstar, but someone that you just need on your team to have as a good player. I mean, there's so many guys like Bridges in the NBA. Like I said, with a Tim Hardaway or even a Trevor Ariza. We're seeing Etuan Moore with the Pelicans turn into that kind of guy. Like, these 3-and-D players in 2018 are pivotal to have in the NBA. If you're telling me that Bridges could end up being a Robert Covington kind of player, you take him at number 6 or number 7.
Especially with the way the NBA draft is not the same as the NFL.
It is not. The NBA draft, you take need. You always go need first. It is not best player available unless you're the 76ers. And honestly,
and just the player talent is the same.
With how the process went, I mean, you could argue that the 76ers blew 3 of their top 5 picks that they ended up getting, depending on how Markelle Fultz goes. And they drafted based off of best player available, and that gave them Jahlil Okafor and Nerlens Noel, which was a disaster.
But Embiid's the GOAT, so it's
but
fine.
with Bridges out there, I also have the Knicks in this kind of projection signing Clint Capella, because I think this lineup that I have here, Frankie Smokes, Tim Hardaway, Bridges, Porzingis, and Capella, it gives them that boost on defense that I think they lose with having Porzingis out there. Having Capella out there on defense along with Bridges and Hardaway and Frankie Smokes, this is a fantastic defensive starting 5. I'm talking top 10 defensive starting 5 in all of basketball. Their defensive rating would easily be under 100. I think this would be a 8 seed to 7 seed playoff team in the East with this starting lineup.
Assuming
I'm serious.
Porzingis is out there all the
Assuming
time.
correct that Porzingis is ending up healthy, but this would be a fun one. The next guy, though, we talked about him with the Cavs.
This is a sexier pick.
This is Trae Young, because Trae Young is built and deserves to play in Madison Square Garden. We've seen what the likes of Steph Curry and LeBron James have been able to do in MSG, and we just need one of those electrifying guys in Madison Square Garden. I get it. Kristaps Porzingis is a great player, and he's going to have his fun. But can't you just imagine Trae Young shooting 12 threes from the logo in Madison Square Garden? The crowd is going crazy. It's all over the place. The garden is shaking, and Trae Young is there in the center
pick and
of it.
pop with Kristaps.
Oh,
AKA how I always win in 2K.
Oh, it'd be beautiful. This would be such a great offensive pick. Can you imagine Trae Young, Kristaps Porzingis, Tim Hardaway Jr. with David Fizdale as their head coach? That offensive system is just so unbelievably ridiculous with the amount of players that they would have. I can't wait to see what the offense that David Fizdale brings to the Knicks. But with Trae Young out there, plus Kristaps, again, I have Clint Capella, because I still have a hunch that Clint Capella is going to get offered a massive sheet this offseason, and he's going to leave. I don't think the Rockets are going to match it, just because I think that they're going to want to keep their options open as they go with this James Harden and Chris Paul kind of combo. But with Trae Young out there, with Kristaps, it's such a beautiful option. I love it.
All right, so if you're not going to go with a guard there, you're not going to go with a wing guy, how about a big man for the Knicks? What about Wendell Carter, who I think actually would be a nice fit alongside Kristaps, because their games are pretty different.
Great combo. You kind of think of Kristaps Porzingis, kind of think of a Paul Millsap player with a better three-point shot, and then you have Wendell Carter, who can be the Al Horford to his Paul Millsap. I think Wendell Carter's ceiling is to be Al Horford. He's never going to blow you away on the offensive side of the ball, but he could legitimately end up being one of the best defensive bigs in all of basketball, not necessarily because of his overall skill set, but because of his intelligence. One of the smartest NBA, or one of the smartest draftable players coming out this year, just the kid's a genius. Like he could have gone
Highly intelligent.
to Harvard, but he chose Duke to play basketball instead.
Probably a good choice.
Yeah, probably a good choice in terms of his NBA career, but I think Wendell Carter is going to be a fun player to see in the NBA. I wonder what his true position is. Is he going to be a power forward? Is he going to be a small ball center, kind of similar to what Clint Capella is? But if you're telling me also that Wendell Carter could end up being Clint Capella, I like that as well. Though I will say this, I don't end up seeing him starting. I think he's going to end up being the 4 for them, and he'll end up probably replacing Kristaps Porzingis as well with that. I wonder what ends up happening with him. I don't even have him listed in the starting lineup because he's never going to start. He's not going to start for this Knicks team. He will be the defense, like what the Celtics do with Semi Ojeleye is what they'll do with Wendell Carter. He will be a matchup-based defender.
I'd actually throw out an option of almost playing Wendell at the 5 on defense, Kristaps at the 4, and then on offense flipping those 2.
And also, this is a big-time thing that the Celtics did with Semi. Wendell Carter Jr. is your Ben Simmons stopper. You got to get a guy out there with size and speed on the defensive side of the ball, and Wendell Carter would be that guy.
I don't know if he has the speed. That's my concern.
Even if he doesn't, you got to try it. I mean, the Celtics were guarding Ben Simmons with Al Horford primarily in Game 1. So if Horford can do it with the slow molasses pace that he moves, I think Wendell Carter could at least try. Look, he as long as Simmons doesn't have a jump shot, you can defend him with big men.
All right, to recap then, those draft targets for the New York Knicks, Mikal Bridges, Trae Young, and a Wendell Carter. You would prefer Bridges out of all those guys, Harris?
I would prefer Bridges, just the safety that he brings you and the fact that him and Tim Hardaway Jr. can switch between the 2 and the 3 so well, and also the versatility he brings you on the defensive side of the ball. You bring in Bridges and you sign Clint Capella, you have a fantastic defensive basketball team, and I actually think they'd end up being one of the best defensive teams in all of basketball. I think this would be a great fit.
While we're on the topic of the NBA draft, Harris, who should go number 1 overall? Is it Luka or is it DeAndre?
It depends who
Ayton
has
at
the
Arizona?
pick, because if it's the Suns, it's Luka, because they didn't hire Igor for nothing. But if it's anyone except the Suns, I think it's going to be Ayton. I mean, even if it was the Suns, I thought it should have been DeAndre Ayton, but that's never here nor there. I still think it's going to be Luka.
I am still going with Luka no matter what.
Yep.
I'm going to have my sticky notepad. Luka no matter
Luka
what.
no matter what.
Look, if you can give me a young European player who actually produces at an unbelievable level over in Europe, sign me up for that. We don't ever see those guys happen.
Exactly.
Kristaps didn't even do that. Luka's doing it.
I think Luka's
Sign
going
me
to be
up.
fantastic. It's going to be.
I know there are some athleticism concerns, but I am all aboard the Luka Doncic pick there.